The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Whoa, hello there.
Hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's another day in paradise. And I guess I'm going to start the ball rolling here by kind of segueing into something that really relates to everything we've been telling you for a very, very long time about doing your homework. Don't listen to anybody, including us. Just research what we say. Although what we say most of the time, we have backup information and we tell you to go look it up and to see if we're accurate. And if we're not accurate, and that's happened on occasion, we then tell you that we made a mistake and that we might have used the wrong department or something like that. And but that's what you have to do. And in an election time, it's even more important that you sift through all the spin and all the propaganda that's being spewed by the various minions of all the candidates, but especially the minions of the mayor. He has a battery of people who attack everybody and anybody that ever says anything bad about the mayor, and I don't really think we say anything bad. I think we just point out the fact that his record is we don't think his record is great. Tax and spend, no attempt to shrink government. And so, we speak about it, but of course that irritates them. So they're going to take any opportunity to lie and mislead people and spin anything that not only his opponent says, but anything that we say or anybody that's perceived as being an enemy. And last night, I appeared before the Health and Public Service Committee, or whatever it's called, but Mike Mioza's last committee meeting, and I thanked Mike for his service, and regardless of whether we agreed on every issue, I felt he did a good job. And I was there. And I'm saying this to clarify this, just to show you why you have to research, because this gets down to not just about me, but about the entire fundamental of finding the truth, seeking the truth. I was there about the prescription drug costs, and anybody who's watched city council meetings knows this has been an ongoing issue that I have been involved in for a very, very long time. And actually, we're going to try to get some legislation to close a loophole which is costing the city and the retirees a tremendous amount of money. And yet, at the end of that meeting, before I even left the desk, because we met with the city, and of course the city's on the same page as I am this time, because it's costing them money too. So they're on my team. So they're on Spindle City's team temporarily. But before I left, I was, when I walked out of the well, I was shown texts from John Sylvia, and I'll use his name, the neighborhood minion, who was saying how disgusted he was watching me go up there and complain, and then ask Joe Macy for help. So I'm gonna clear this up. And I'm not asking you to believe me. You can watch the replay of the committee meeting and see who's telling the truth. First and foremost is, I don't know what Mr. Sylvia, who loves to talk about how he works for the federal government when in fact he works at home, because he probably doesn't have enough social aptitude to actually work in a regular work environment. So, he hides in his little chair and plays Facebook warrior while he's getting a nice big pay from the federal government, and he can go up there and support any mayor when he removes his lips from their gluteus maximus, and he can make ridiculous statements like, well, the tax fee, trash fee is just like the Stop and Shop going up on eggs. Well, as I've said before, that's absurd. You only make yourself look like a buffoon. You make analogies like that because you don't have to buy eggs. You don't have to shop at Stop and Shop. You have the ability to make a choice. When the city imposes a tax on you, you don't have a choice. So number one, you're a fool. Number two, for the record, I did not ask Mr. Macy for help. The city volunteered Mr. Macy to me. And for all of you who watch this tape, I want you to watch the tape very carefully when the city administrator says very clearly, Mr. Camara has single-handedly brought this issue to light. And that's why I had the mic for most of the meeting, because I've been working on this thing for over a year. So the city is jumping on my bandwagon, because they're saving money. And for the record, I can disgust you all you want, but you disgust me because you don't do anything. I was acting in my capacity as the Public Employee Committee representative for over 2,000 retirees. And you disgust me, Mr. Sylvia, if you think that it's disgusting that I'm trying to save these people that are on fixed incomes from paying 500% more for their pharmaceuticals than they were before. And many of these retirees live in your neighborhood. And at tomorrow's retirees meeting, I'm going to tell them how much you care about them. Because apparently you think it's disgusting that this is happening. And that brings me to the most important point here. Unlike you, where everything is motivated by a political agenda, so you can put your lips on every politician's gluteus. When I have a job, as CJ and I say all the time, this is not personal. As a matter of fact, Joe Macy and I go back a long way. We had a very nice conversation before and after the meeting. We disagree on a lot of things, and as Joe Macy said, this may be the first time I've ever agreed with him. But the fact is, it's not true. But, we agree on little. But it doesn't mean I dislike him. So number one, what I say about him on the show is about his job and the money he's getting and things that I have a legitimate response for. But when I do a job, I represent 2,000 retirees. And I understand the process enough to know that I have to work with anybody. And if I can get a lawyer, let alone a lawyer, but a former judge that interpreted laws, to help me draft a language that may get that bill through quickly, of course I'm going to take it. I would negotiate with the devil. I would do anything. As a union leader, I filed grievances for people I liked and disliked. The matter was the issue at hand. Was it a violation? Unlike you, I can separate. And when I'm in front of that council, representing 2,000 retired employees who have given tens of thousands of years of service to this city, and you make a statement like that and try to politicize it, you are a total anal sphincter. And that's what you are on your best day. Because you know something? The reality is, hey, my Middle Eastern heritage, maybe because I got a little Bedouin blood in me, I believe in the adage, the old Bedouin adage, that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and the friend of my enemy is my enemy. And the fact is, when I'm negotiating in my capacity or when I'm sitting there as an elected retirement board member, or as the Public Employee Committee member who represents the retirees, or the retirement board where I represent all active and retired employees, or as a union head, or in my capacity as anything, I'm acting in that capacity for other people. And when somebody like you attempts to spin that, it shows how disgusting you are. You hide in your little closet and you work from home and get a big salary and you don't care. So I'm going to tell you, you're irrelevant, but I had to clear the air with this, and I'm going to tell you, when you decide to stop acting like a little female dog and come out into the light and look people in the eye, maybe you and I can have a really good conversation. And with that, let's get on with the show, CJ.
Well, Chip, I will say one thing. I watched that meeting yesterday, and I actually played it back after the meeting was over. And you're right. I mean, you were on the money, and I've never seen the city in any way, shape, or form side with anything you or I have ever said. But yesterday they did, because they know what's happening. And as a matter of fact, you and I were on the phone going over the law and going back and forth, because this is what we do.
Yeah, and so, CJ is helping me a lot with the prescription drug options, because CJ he's very knowledgeable in that area. And for someone like this to forget that this affects thousands of people, to me, is reprehensible.
It's interesting, because on October 5th, for our senior viewers who are on Medicare, the Medicare open enrollment program started, the open enrollment period. And that runs from October 5th until, I believe it's December 7th this year. And that gives you that amount of time to find either what we call a Medicare Advantage program or a Part D program, which is your drug coverage. And you and I have had this conversation back and forth, and we did find out that the drug coverage portion for the retirees is optional for the city to have that, but they've packaged it in. I firmly believe that if the retirees opted out of that program based upon the income levels of several of them, they would do much better to enroll in a Part D program, because then they wouldn't have these out-of-network drugs. It's in my warehouse, but it's out of network. And I do this time of year. I have plenty of people who call me up. I have Bristol elders contact me. I have other organizations contact me and say, can you come in and sit down with our clients and sit down with our consumers and talk to them about their options under Medicare Part D and getting good drug coverage cheap. Believe it or not, there's actually some drug coverages by your great friends over at CVS Caremark under Part D, which has no cost to the subscriber. None. No cost. And the copays is $1.79, I think, this year, and $3.30. Okay? For the same drugs that the city has for $500. So, and there's no cost to the subscriber. I believe that's called Silver Scripts, is one of them. But, there's a lot of the programs out there that if our consumers, our elders, look at, they may find they get a better deal. But because the city has decided to lock them in to this drug coverage plan in their MedX or whatever they want to call it, they don't get that option. And that's what I think is horrendous, because all consumers should have a choice where they get their prescriptions, where they see their doctors, what hospital they go to. And here in Fall River, it's not only for city employees, but it's across the board. And, I get into this very clearly with people, because what they did in Fall River for a Medicare Advantage program called Tufts was they locked in all the doctors and said, we're exclusive, you can't go to anyone else. Now, Tufts is probably one of the worst healthcare plans there is, all right? And, they keep saying, oh, well, we're, rated #1 in the country. It's not that you're rated #1 in the country. You lock in these doctors that have no choice, because once they sign on with you, nobody else can do it. So while Humana and some of these other Cigna that offer Medicare Advantage programs, they can't offer them in Massachusetts, because when they do, they can't get into 90% of the doctors because Tufts has them locked up. So this is denying you the right of choice. But this is what happens, and in Fall River, it's even worse, because they've divided the city in half right down Bedford Street, Anything north of Bedford Street is Charlton. Anything south is St. Anne's and Primacare. And you can't go to the opposing facilities because your health insurance won't pay for it unless it's an emergency. So if you have a heart attack and you won't get taken to St. Anne's, you'll get taken to Charlton. Because Charlton's fighting St. Anne's on getting cardiac coverage. So you got to go there and you have to pay a higher copay, you have to pay a higher deductibles because that's out of network. Even though you need it and it's required, it's out of network. And these are the things people don't understand. And when we have advocates like yourself, myself, when we fight for seniors, for our everyday Joe who's working, we're negative. And that's okay. I don't mind being negative, okay? If it's going to get what our citizens need and require at an affordable cost in a city that can't afford anything. And this is what they don't understand, all right? If we don't have the money, we'll tax them.
And that's the thing. And I think that, you hit the nail right on the head. That's the problem. As you've said more than once, and I've said, they can't separate personal and professional. Everything's personal with them because everything's political. You and I have other hats that we wear. You wear other hats, and when we're wearing those hats, we're advocating for people. And I feel that we're not among those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat, because we are the people in the arena. I put in an inordinate amount of time for doing my research on these things. But when I'm on a retirement board, I take that job seriously. I was elected to that job, and I had against a very strong field, and I was honored by being that, and I take that job seriously, and I am representing it. So when I go before the council and say that this retirement system's in trouble because we've put almost $89 million less in New Bedford, and I have a mayor that says, oh, it's only because people are getting older, and then I have one of his minions saying, I'm complaining. No, I'm not complaining. I'm pointing out a fact, and I'm representing the people in that system. If that system becomes insolvent, we're going to have thousands of retirees that are going to have no pension. And I have an obligation, both morally and fiduciarily, to do that, as I do as the Public Employee Committee representative. And as I said, look, I got a skin as thick as a rhino. I mean, people have been taking shots at me my whole life, and I don't really care. But when people say, begin to try to politicize issues that affect people's lives, like the drugs and like their medical coverages and their retirement checks, and they try to make this a political football rather than looking at this thing objectively. And I don't, I presented facts about how much New Bedford put in, and that's the key. The key is we take, this is why we tell people, look, research, look at people's records. This is going to be a very, very nasty election down the stretch. You can see it coming. It's going to get ugly, and it's going to get dirty, and it's up to every single person out there to cut through all the BS and look at the platforms, look at the record, and make a decision based on an educated assumption. And that's all you can do. I mean, you can't assume about the mayor because he's already been doing the job, so he's got to. But you have to look at Jazel's platforms and say, well, what do you think? And weigh it versus, do you want to continue to have this administration? And that's your prerogative. But as I said, it really irritates me when somebody politicizes it. You want to call me names, all day, because some Urkel sitting in his house typing on a computer all day doesn't bother me in the least, because he affects my life not one iota. He's about as important to me as an amoeba. So the fact is that that's not an issue. But the issue is that, listen, when we go up there on really, really important issues that affect the health, the safety of the people of Fall River and people in general, and they attempt to politicize it, that appalls me. I'm sorry. It's just, that's the way I feel. And this is what we're up against sometime. And like I said, it comes with the territory, yes, but should it? No. And everybody in the Niagara Neighborhood Association, when I see the former president, so Audrey Poitras, tomorrow at the retirees meeting, I'm going to tell her that the new president of her association doesn't give two craps about the retirees that live in, and he thought it was disgusting that I was up there. And it was a mistake to watch that committee meeting because he was so disgusted. Well, like I said, Urkel, you disgust me. So now what else is going on the political scene?
Oh, well, they listed out the campaign finance reports, which became available.
Ooh.
But, yeah, and it seems that Jazel spent like $884 since the primary.
And did Sam pay that for his driver in Newport?
Well, he spent like $12,000 for a political consultant firm out of Boston. How about was it, in fact, I heard a rumor to effect that there were hotel rooms in Newport and those are on the reports too. And
wow, I mean, why would you need to rent a hotel room in Newport?
Well, it's all, the problem with it is it's all, as long as it's designated as a campaign expense, it's kind of hard to prove it isn't.
Wow, it's a 20-minute drive. You couldn't drive your car. I guess this city's got a lot of money,
Yeah.
and his campaign is so important that he has to stay overnight in Newport.
But
Wow.
here's the thing. I saw a couple of the bills for the sanitation fees. Okay, do you know when they're due? They're due tomorrow.
They're due tomorrow.
They're due tomorrow, and people didn't realize it. And they're like, I got a bill, it's $360. I'm like, yeah, you got to pay $180 right now. It's like, I didn't realize it was going to be so expensive. What have we been saying?
Yeah.
I said today, in regards to this, I said, I told you people a while ago that you needed to privatize. In your home, it would cost you $24 a month or $27 a month to privatize. You would still have a substantial savings. But they didn't listen. And now they're all upset because guess what? It's too late to get the first half of your bill abated, if at all, because there is no ruling on if you leave mid-year. So the money's due and payable. And I think that's going to be a big problem for people because I noticed that a lot of people, when they got the bills, started having Cleanway and ABC and all these waste haulers stop putting out bins and have the city pick them up. But the question is, did they do it in time? Is the city going to give them a grace period? I don't think they will.
No. Well, they already said they're not raising enough money as it is. Even
Right.
if they raise all the money these people pay all their bills. Now, if they get abatements, it's gonna dip even greater. But as you said, it's amazing. And even if it is the same price or a little bit more for privatization, you pay that by the month,
Right.
If you want, if you can budget it. If it's $24 a month, you can say, okay, this is I only have to find $24 a month, and if worst comes to worst, I can go collect, soda cans or something. I can scrape.
I got to give up 8 cups of coffee.
Yeah, 8 cups of coffee, or I can collect some soda cans, and I can scrape up $24. But scraping up $360 and $180, and it's these people are like, oh my God, this thing comes in a big lump sum. But that's what happens to people. They don't think about it until they get the bill in hand, and they go, well, I haven't paid. And they get this huge bill, and they go, oh, my God, what am I going to do? But, I mean, look, we got to give the city credit. He could have sent them out they could have got them on December 24th.
That's true. But, the interesting thing is, I've asked people that are willing to pay the sanitation fee, and I said, why? Well, because none of the private haulers handle yard waste. I said, okay, but the city will still pick up my yard waste. Sporadically, obviously, because if you have a holiday that week, nobody gets picked up. But they're willing to pay $10 a month for the city to pick up their yard waste, plus pay for the bags. Okay, that's a choice. Again, consumer choice, and that's what people need to have.
Yeah, but they get a brown barrel.
Yeah, yeah, well, now they'll get a brown barrel for it. But, the kicker is this. Are you so lazy that you can't put that yard waste in the plastic bags and drive over to Westport or drive over to Dartmouth? There are 2 facilities in both those towns which are private. They're not run by the towns that accept your yard waste for free because it generates money for them. So obviously we're doing something wrong when we're paying $48 a ton to get rid of our yard waste. Maybe we should bring it over to Westport or Dartmouth and dump it for free.
Well, it seems we do a lot of things wrong, CJ. We're one of the only communities that pays to get rid of their recyclables.
I know.
We don't make money on our recyclables. We have people that will accept our yard waste for free, and we don't take advantage of that. So, again, we have government at its best, and this is what happens. And this is the reason that we tell people, look, pay attention to what's going on in your life. Look at, increase in fees, increase in taxes, and has your life gotten better or worse? And the answer for most of the regular people, it's gotten a lot worse. I mean, if you look at the housing, I've seen so many houses for sale in Fall River, which is amazing because the prices of houses in Fall River are in the basement. We have our housing prices are just, they're deplorable. I mean, people are taking baths when they sell their houses, but it's getting so bad, they're so anxious to leave the city that there are for sale signs with people that have owned houses for 40 years and 30 and 50 years. And,
right.
And I drive around the neighborhoods, and even in my own neighborhood, as I said, there was a guy that put up his house about 5 years ago. He couldn't get his price, and he took it off the market, and
I was
the hell
looking,
with it. And now it was back on the market. And when I ran into him, I said, you got it back on the market. I said, the prices have gone down. He said, I'm so sick of this city. He said, I don't care what kind of bath I've got to take. He said, I'm just getting out. I'm cutting my losses, and it's not going to get any better in my lifetime, probably, in this city the way things are going. And I'm just getting out of Dodge.
Yeah, and the thing is that houses that were selling for $305,000 10 years ago are now selling at about $179,000. Okay, $179,000 to $200,000 for a triple decker. All right, that's a bath. You've lost half the price that you're still paying on. You're so upside down in your mortgage, you're not drowning, you're dead. Yeah. And the bounce back from that is going to take 5 to 7 years if we start improving our property values. But the kicker is, right now, we're going through what we call the bounce back from the foreclosures. The foreclosures started between 7 and 10 years ago, where people had their homes foreclosed upon. Well, those negative credit reportings are now coming off the credit profiles. So those people that are now having those removed are seeing their credit scores jump from 650, 680 to 725, 750, and 800. And when they do that, they automatically go out and buy another house. So, that's really what the housing market is looking at right now. They're hoping that the bounce back babies, for the lack of a better expression for them, stop buying houses again. Because they've had 7 years to put some money away, and they're going to buy them at very low cost. So it's going to be more likely they're going to get a good home at a lower price that they'll be able to maintain the mortgage payments. So.
Well, I hope so, but they're still going to be hard-pressed to buy them in Fall River.
Oh, yeah, there's no question about it.
Because, even though the prices are very attractive, actually, a friend of mine, he couldn't believe it because he's got a single family, but there was a two-family around the corner from him, and he said he didn't even realize it was up for sale, but I guess it was a private sale. And they sold that two-family. He said, yeah, it needed a little bit of work, but he said inside, but $85,000.
Yeah.
$85,000. That's absurd.
It is.
But pay attention, people. Stay angry. And remember, who is going to be the moderator at the People's Debate?
Well, there's going to be some information coming up in the next week, so please be watching. Have a great week.